All right, we got to go quick. We got to go quick today, all right? Some of you are going to be happy because we're definitely going to end on time today. Some of you might be like, slow down a little bit, Glenn. You're moving a little bit too fast for me. It's very early in the morning, but we've got to move quick. I am going to be stressing some people out this morning. I'm going to be stressing out Frank Knox. He is going to be definitely stressing out if he pops in here today because I have a flight that I need to catch that starts boarding in less than 1 hour. The flight leaves in an hour and a half. I got a flight that leaves in an hour and a half. The airport's half an hour away. We're going to do this show right here today. But I woke up this morning, 3:40 a.m., like I normally do. Went downstairs, grabbed my big cup of ice water, big purple cup that I like. Went downstairs, put on my headphones, which were almost dead. Good thing it notified me so I could charge them up a little bit this morning. Put on my headphones and listened to some music without words. Opened up my Morning 5 Planner. And what I love about the Morning 5 Planner is in the upper right-hand corner of every page of the Morning 5 Planner, there's a quote that is submitted by actual members of our community. And today's quote says this: imagination is the passport that can take your soul anywhere, even when your body stays still. And this was a quote submitted by our friend Patty from New York, Patty Frudenberg. She submitted this particular quote, and I love it. Imagination is the passport. That alone, you could take off the rest of the quote. Imagination is the passport. What is a passport? A passport is the document that we need in order to be able to travel the world, experience new things, see things we've never seen, be in environments we've never been, be around cultures we've never been around, have conversations with people in different languages than what we're currently used to. Like the passport is required to unlock the world. And to think that imagination is the passport that can unlock your soul. It ties perfectly into today's episode of Hashtag Rise and Grind. We are in a series this week called Truly Independent. And we're looking at things a little bit different. Are we truly independent on the backside of Independence Day, or are we not? We're going to continue that series today. Thank you so much for being here. Again, we're going to move a little bit quick today. We're definitely going to be on time for those of you that like that. And I got to get to the airport. Let's go. Good morning and welcome to the #1 morning show in America. I am your host, Glenn Lundy, husband to 1, father to 9, author, speaker, and the founder of 800%.life. It's 5:30 a.m. and it's time to rise and grind. Hey, good morning. How are you, my friend? Dude, today is Thursday. That's right. Today is Thursday, July 9th, 2026. What's up, Keto Facts? Oh, that's Trisha. Today is Thursday, July 9th, 2026. And what's crazy is today is the very first and the very last time it'll ever be Thursday, July 9th, 2026. So I want to make sure we make the absolute most, and I do mean the absolute most, of this absolutely incredible day. Coming to you live currently from Lexington, Kentucky. I will be catching a flight here shortly. I have a flight at 7:05 a.m. out of Lexington, Kentucky. I'm going to head down to Atlanta, hang out with Adam Marburger and the crew down there at CBT News, get an opportunity to be interviewed on that show and hopefully continue to make an impact in this industry that I love, the auto industry. Now, we are on the backside of Independence Day weekend. 4th of July weekend was a blast at the Lundy house. It always is. And Independence Day, those specific words, launched a new series for us this week that poses the question. We've celebrated 250 years of independence last week. But we got to ask the question, are we truly independent? Are we truly independent? Now, we're not talking about politically or financially or socially, right? Independence is defined as the freedom from outside control, support, or authority. We're talking about emotional independence. We're talking about personal independence. We're talking about mental independence. We're talking about spiritual independence. And this week we've talked about programming that came, with you at birth, the way that you've been programmed by your environment, by your experiences. We've also talked about yesterday, we talked about the invisible audience that some of us spend our entire lives performing for, asking that question, who am I making these decisions for? And so this morning, and I told you this earlier in this week, that this series this week might take some interesting twists and turns. So this morning, we're going to take another unexpected turn. Because this morning, we're going to talk about the fact that I used to believe that the opposite of wisdom was ignorance. Right? What it means to be wise, all-knowing, all-powerful. And the opposite of wise and all-knowing would be not knowing. Dumb. Ignorance. I used to believe that, but the more I think about it and the more conversations I have with some really, 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 really smart people, I don't think that anymore. Actually, I think the opposite of wisdom is certainty. That's right. The opposite of wisdom is certainty. Now, before you throw your coffee at me and scratching your head like, what the heck is Glenn talking about? We're going to dive in. But before we go too far, you know what we got to do on this show. We got to get our bodies in motion. Let's go. Let's go. It's time for us to do some dancing, folks. Let's go. We got to get these bodies in motion. An object in motion tends to stay in motion. An object at rest tends to stay at rest. So I need you to get moving. No matter where you are in the world, no matter what you're doing, let's do some dancing. If you are in the office, I need you dancing in the office. If you're in the car, I need you dancing in the car. If you're out on a run right now, I need you to pick up the pace for another 1 minute and 40 seconds. Pick up the pace. If you are in bed, get your rear end up out of bed. If you're watching in a different time zone on a replay, I don't care. I just have this crazy vision in my head of people dancing like lunatics all over the planet, and it always makes me smile. Do you ever see people like dancing, like really dancing with a miserable face? No, people are always dancing with a smile on their face. There's always joy in their heart. That's what dancing does. My son, Hutch Rader, he loves to dance, the little dude. I mean, he's just a little tiny dude, but he dances like crazy. So much joy from dancing. So get your body in motion. This is also the part of the show where I need you to hit that share button. I need you to hit that share button because I believe if we can change the way people start their day, it'll make a massive impact on this planet. I truly believe that. And sometimes all it takes to change the way somebody starts their day is for you, yes, you, to hit that share button. If you think about it, somebody maybe shared this to you one day. You jumped in, it made an impact in your life. Hit that share button. Last but not least, this is the part of the show where I want to say good morning to you, and I want you to say good morning to me, whether you're watching live or you're watching on replay or you're watching on YouTube or you're listening to the podcast. Reach out, connect. It's all about building relationships. It's all about community. Keto Facts, a.k.a. Trisha Rue, good morning to you. Robert Pollard, good morning. He says he's dancing on the treadmill this morning. Judith Coletti is in the building. Thanks for being here, Judith. I greatly appreciate it. Tony Thorstad, good morning, Tony Thorstad. Thank you for being here, sir. Mike Larkin is in the building. Thanks for being here, Mike. I greatly appreciate it. Russell Hill, good morning to you. Liza Myers Borges, good morning to you. Thank you for being here this morning. Gene Hughes is in the building. Let's go, Gene Hughes. Thank you for being here. Ramona Rogers Smith is in the building. Thanks for being here, Ramona. Tara Hope is in the building. Melissa Fryer Rivas Prado All the best in racing today. Thank you, Melissa. I appreciate that. Linnell Burns is in the building. Yes, we are racing today. Kurt Allen McFarland is in the building. Thanks for being here, Kurt. I greatly appreciate you and the energy you always bring. Michael Barrick is in the building this morning. And for those of you that are watching on replay, just know I see you. I love you. I am grateful for you. Spencer Nicholson is in the building. Julio Soto is in the building. And ladies and gentlemen, let's dive in because my flight is coming up. My flight is coming up. I've got a flight in 1 hour and 24 minutes. What's up, GA? I got a flight in 1 hour and 24 minutes. The airport's about half hour away. So we're going to dive in. We're going to get this show, and we're going to get me off to the airport so that I can make my way down to Atlanta for the day. Does that sound fair? Let's go. All right, so right before the dance break, I told you that I used to believe that ignorance was the opposite of wisdom. I don't believe that anymore. What I believe now is that certainty is the opposite of wisdom. And Oswald Joseph Bien-Aimé is like, what are you talking about, Glenn? Well, if you think about it, ignorance simply means you don't know something, right? And that's not dangerous. It's not a dangerous thing to not know something. Every one of us, me, you, your sister, your brother, your cousin, your mom, your dad, your teacher, the influencer that you love, your friend, your coworker, the person that you go to the grocery or that you go on runs with, the person that you see at the grocery store. All of us are ignorant about millions of things. Like, I'll give you an example. I have no idea how to build a rocket. Do you? Do you know how to build a rocket? If you do, drop it in the comments. That'd be cool to know. I don't know how to perform brain surgery. I don't know how to do it. I've never learned it. I have no interest in it. Glenn Lundy will not be known as a brain surgeon. But that's not dangerous, right? I don't know how to speak Chinese. I don't know how to speak that language. I don't understand that language. It's not the language that I was raised in. So that's ignorance, right? Like, there's no shame in not knowing something. There's no shame in that. But certainty is different. When you believe that you're certain about something, certainty means you've reached the end of that conversation. Like, the best way I can put it in 2 short sentences, certainty closes doors, whereas curiosity opens them. Patty's quote in the Planner today talked about how imagination is the passport that allows the soul to make its way around the universe. Well, imagination starts with curiosity. So this is why I believe the opposite of wisdom is not ignorance. The opposite of wisdom is certainty, is because certainty closes doors while curiosity opens them. And I've started to Heather and I have had a lot of conversations around this recently. I think her and I are both really trying to extract and explore and understand why certainty is probably the biggest threat to humanity that exists on this planet, if you ask me. Like, one of the greatest threats to becoming truly independent is becoming absolutely convinced that you're right. Like, think about it, dude, for real. Think back to when you were a kid. All right, let's go back in time just a little bit. For some of us, we're going to have to go back a little bit further. than the rest of us. But I want you to think back to when you were a kid, right? When you were a kid, you would ask questions all the time, would you not? Like, why is the sky blue? Why do birds fly? Why do people get old? Why? Children ask hundreds of questions every single day. And then something changes. Something changes, and the school starts rewarding us not for asking questions, but they start rewarding us for having answers. And businesses reward us for having answers, and leadership rewards us for having answers, and social media rewards us for sounding certain and having answers. The news rewards certainty. Algorithms reward competence. The louder the opinion, the more attention it gets. Am I right? Can I get an amen? And somewhere along the way, we stop asking questions, and instead we start defending what we just know we are right about. You know, one of the greatest thinkers, or someone who is known to be one of the greatest thinkers in history, was a guy named Socrates. And people traveled from all over Greece because they believed that Socrates was the wisest man alive. Like, just imagine that for a second. Imagine if people called you the wisest person in the country. Like, how would you respond to that? And so they went to Socrates. They said, hey, we think you're the wisest man in the country. And Socrates responded with an extraordinary response. Now, some of you might not know Socrates. You might know him as Socrates, as Bill and Ted described him in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. But here's what Socrates said. I'm going to take you back for those of you that have seen this movie. Here's a quick little clip.
Socrates, spelen game met de middel margare Socrates. De los saste Socrates.
Socrates. Hey, we know that name. Yeah. Hey, look him up. Oh, it's under Socrates. Oh, yeah. Socrates. The only true wisdom consists in knowing that you know nothing. That's us, dude. Oh, yeah. Let's bag him. Yeah.
The only true wisdom exists in knowing that you know nothing. Wow. I mean, how opposite of certainty is that? I mean, if that doesn't, like, if we're in court and we're like, we need evidence that certainty is the opposite of wisdom, not ignorance, I think that's it right there. Like, basically, Socrates is saying the only thing that I know is that I know nothing. And at first, that sounds a little bit ridiculous because, of course, Socrates knew things. And he wasn't saying he had no knowledge. He was saying something much deeper. You see, Socrates understood that every answer opened the door to another question. The more he learned, the more he realized there was still to learn. And that's wisdom, my friends. Wisdom is not pretending like you've arrived and you have all the answers. Wisdom is having humility to keep walking, to keep going, to realize there is no finish line. I like to say all the time, in my 20s, I knew everything. In my 30s, I started to know a few things, started to realize I know a few things. Now I'm in my 40s and I realize without a doubt, I know nothing. And that's not like just some hoity-toity blah, 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 mumbo jumbo. Like, if you look at it statistically, I'm a math, not magic kind of guy. If you look at it statistically, I know nothing. The limited amount of data and information that I know in comparison and contrast to the data and information that exists in the world, I know nothing. And man, that's an awesome place. It's an awesome place to exist. It really is, right? Like one of the things that fascinates me, if those of you that have hung around here maybe a little bit, you know that I like to study the life and the works of Jesus. And I do that by reading the best-selling book of all time. And one of the things that fascinates me about Jesus is how he often responds to questions with another question. Like, have you ever noticed that? People would ask him, "Hey, Jesus, what should we do? Hey, Jesus, what is the truth? Hey, Jesus, who is my neighbor?" And instead of immediately giving him an answer every time, Jesus would ask something back. He would say, who do you say that I am? He would say, what is written in the law? He would say, what do you think? Like, why would he do that, man? And the greatest mentors that I ever had in my life were not the ones who gave me all the answers. They were always the ones who asked the questions that allowed me to unlock my belief of what was the answer. So why did Jesus do that? Jesus did that because answers transfer information. That's all the answers do. Whereas questions actually transform people. Anybody can tell you what to think. I can tell you what to think. And lots of people on social media are telling you what to think. And your parents might be telling you what to think. And your coworkers are telling you what to think. Anybody can do that. That's not a skill. It is not a skill to tell you. For me to tell you what to think is not a skill. But what is a skill? It's a skill to be the type of person that helps other people discover why they think what they think. And see, that's a completely different thing. There's another guy that I love learning about. This guy, Richard Feynman. He's one of the greatest physicists who ever lived. Brilliant, funny dude, super curious, asks lots of questions. And when I read stories about him, it says the students would ask him incredibly difficult questions. He kind of reminds me a little bit of a Charlie Kirk in the sense that people went to him to ask hard questions to see how he would respond, whether they agreed with him or didn't agree with him. But here's what was interesting and very different about my man Richard versus some other people out there. When Richard didn't know the answer, he was known as simply saying, "I don't know." That would be his response. If he didn't know the answer, he would say, "I don't know." And I want you to think about that in today's day and age. Think about how rare that is. Think about any political figure, any public figure, anybody who's supposed to be a leader or whatever. Imagine the press asking them a question and their response is just, "I don't know, bro." Like, think about how rare that is. Today, we live in a world where people feel pressure to have an opinion on everything. Am I right? You have to have an opinion on politics. You have to have an opinion on religion. You have to have an opinion on economics. You have to have an opinion on sports. You have to have an opinion on parenting. You have to have an opinion on business, right? You're expected to have an opinion on everything within seconds, right now, without reflection, without studying, without curiosity, without asking questions, without doing the research. You're just supposed to have certainty, and that's what the world looks like today. And yet my boy Richard Feynman had enough confidence to admit when he didn't know. My friends, admitting that you don't know is not weakness. Admitting that you don't know is strength. Real confidence doesn't need to pretend. And as I've been thinking about this concept of are we truly independent, and I've been looking back at my own life as we go through this series this week, Some of the biggest breakthroughs I've ever experienced in my life didn't happen because I finally figured something out. They happened because I finally admitted I've been wrong. I've been wrong this whole time. I had a breakthrough in my relationship with someone who's now like one of my best friends of all time because she told me where I was wrong. There's been times in my life where I was wrong as a leader. There have been times in my life where I've been wrong about what success actually looks like. There's been times in my life where I'm wrong about what people needed in me and from me. I was wrong about how to love people. I was wrong about how to lead my family. Like, this wasn't all at the same time. This was like over the years. I was just wrong about so many things. And as long as I was certain that what I was doing was right, things just continued to spiral out of control. But once I finally got to a point where I could admit I was wrong, that's when I grew. That's right, Don Sankey. Like, every single time I'd finally reach a point in my life where I'd admit that I was wrong, growth followed. But every single time I pretended I already knew something, and I never grew. Like, honestly, I think this is why pride is so dangerous, because pride is not just arrogance. Pride is the inability to learn. Pride is the inability to learn. It's the voice inside of us that whispers, dude, you've already got this figured out. And the moment you believe you've already got it figured out, your growth like just quietly goes out the back door, dude. So we spend this entire week talking about independence, but maybe the greatest dependence of all is depending on your ego, depending on always winning, depending on never changing your mind. And my friend, that is not freedom. That's just another prison. That's all it is. A prison that has been built through certainty. And it's crazy, man, because as I get older, like Grant, when I'm around Grant Cardone, that guy asks more questions than anybody I know. It's like, maybe it's the older or the wiser, I don't know. The wiser people get, whether that's age, experience, whatever, the wiser people get, it seems like they get less interested in proving themselves and being right, and they become more interested in like just understanding, just asking better questions, listening longer, interrupting people less, being secure enough to say, that's interesting. I hadn't thought about it that way. Thanks for sharing that. Like, that's not weakness, dude. That's maturity. That's what wisdom really looks like. So maybe, just maybe, becoming truly independent isn't about escaping other people's influence. Maybe it's about becoming free enough to let the truth change you, even when it makes you wrong, or even when it's uncomfortable, or even when it costs you your pride, even when it means admitting that this whole time you were wrong. Because, see, that's the beautiful thing, dude. The beautiful thing is that changing your mind doesn't mean you've failed. Sometimes changing your mind is proof that you've grown. You see, somewhere in your life today, there's probably a belief that you've held on to for years that's just simply not true. And I don't know what that belief is, and maybe even neither do you, and that's the point. So maybe the next step towards becoming truly independent isn't talking more. Maybe it's listening more. Maybe it isn't winning another argument. Maybe it's asking one more question. Maybe wisdom doesn't begin when you finally have all the answers. Maybe wisdom begins the moment you become courageous enough to admit that you will never have all of the answers. You never will. And strangely enough, for me, it's not discouraging that I won't have all of the answers. I think that's one of the most freeing truths there is, because the freest people I've ever met in my life aren't the ones who know everything. They're the ones who never stop learning. So listen, friends, I love you. I do. I absolutely stinking love you. My name's Glenn, and I'm your friend. I've got a flight that leaves in exactly 1 hour and 5 minutes from right now, and the airport's 30 minutes away. So I'm going to go ahead and get on out of here so that I can make my way down to Atlanta. But I appreciate you joining me. I'll be back again tomorrow morning, 5:30 a.m. We'll do it all over again. Thank you so much for going on this journey with me. It is absolutely a gift to know that I have people like you in my corner, that I can be comfortable enough to know, to be able to say, hey, I know nothing, and that's okay. Have a great day. Peace.
Yo, check the blueprint. It ain't about the mountain, it's about the steady hand. Foundation is king, solid. Mind stay focused, every single day is a test. Clocking in the labor, while the others wanna rest. One step, one motion. Put the weight on the frame. Structure of a titan, yeah, I'm building the name. It's the ritual, the visual, the logic is sound.